So a brief little tutorial on the distributive property. Distributive property is just multiplication. So essentially what we're doing when we do the distributive property here, so what we're going to do is we're going to take this 3 and multiply it by the 2x. So it'll look like 3 times 2x, and then 3 times 5. And we'll add those together. So the addition sign here stays the same. The 3 is distributed into both pieces, and the 2x and the 5 just kind of tag along. So when we simplify, we end up with 6x plus 15. Now you don't have to write that all out, just writing it out to show you where I'm getting the information from. A lot of times we have to do double distributive property in Algebra 1, and double distributive property is sometimes known as FOIL. FOIL stands for first, outer, inner, and last. And it helps us to remember which pieces to multiply. However, FOIL doesn't always work. And that makes FOIL not a really good way to multiply. In fact, FOIL is probably my least favorite thing that we teach in Algebra 1 because I like rules that always work. So instead, I like to think of the distributive property, or the FOIL method, as actually double distribution. So we do double distribution when we are multiplying binomials by binomials, or binomials by trinomials. And remember, a binomial is one that has 2 parts to it, 2 terms. So first term, second term. So this would be a binomial. So we're going to multiply this binomial by this other binomial, and we're going to do that by distributing twice. So it looks like this. So we're going to take our 2x, and we're going to multiply it by our x, just like we did up top. And then we're going to take our 2x and multiply it by our negative 6. So essentially we're doing 2x times x minus 6. And then we're going to also do 5 times x minus 6. So that's what it'll look like. But usually we don't write it twice like that. I'm writing it like this so you can actually see the double distribution going on, but we're not always going to see it like that. So let's see what it looks like otherwise. So if I take that 2x and I multiply it, 2x times x, and then we have plus 2x, because the 2x is positive, times negative 6. That's our first distribution. Then we're going to do the same thing with our 5. So it's a positive 5, so we're going to do plus 5 times x plus 5 times negative 6. So if you just kind of look at the picture and the colors here, you'll see that the 2x is always in red, the 5 is always in yellow, and the stuff that I'm distributing to is always in black. So then our last step here is really just simplifying. So we're going to simplify all of this and see what happens. So 2x times x is going to give me 2x squared. Then 2x times negative 6 is going to make that a negative 12x. Then we've got 5 times x, which is going to give us a 5x. And then 5 times negative 6 is a negative 30. You'll notice that I end up in descending order. So I have my x squareds first. Then these guys are like terms. So negative 12 plus 5 is going to give me a negative 7x minus 30. And that would be my final answer. So all I've essentially done is distribute the 2x to everything, and then the 5 to everything. And the reason they call it FOIL is because it's first, the first 2 terms, the outer 2 terms, the inner 2 terms, and the last 2 terms. But again, it doesn't always work, because if we have a trinomial at the end, it's not going to work anymore. So let's look at a trinomial. So we're going to do the same thing this time. We are going to double distribute our 2x to everything, and then our 3 to everything. So I'm going to take out that middle step this time. So I'm going to do 2x times 3x squared, and that's going to give me a 6x to the third power. A 2x times a 4x is going to give me an 8x squared, and then a 2x times negative 7 is going to give me a negative 14. Then I'm going to do the same thing with my 3. 3 times 3x squared. Instead of just stringing it along at the end back here, I'm going to line it up underneath where I am and combine my like terms so I can easily see what goes together. So 3 times 3x squared is going to actually give me a positive 9x squared. These two guys are like terms, so I put them in order together. Then 3x times 4x is going to give me, oh, I left out my x here. Oops. That 2x times 7 was actually a 14x. I apologize for that. So 3 times 4 will give me a positive 12x. And then 3 times negative 7 will give me a negative 21. Now when I combine my like terms, I'm essentially adding these together. 6x cubed has no friends, so he just stays down here. 8x squared and 9x squared make a 17x squared. Negative 14x plus 12x is going to give us a negative 2x, and then our negative 21 tags along. Now if I were to try to FOIL this and do the FOIL method like you might have been taught in the past, you would do the first two, the outer two, the inner two, and the last two. Do you see that there's two numbers that never got to multiply? There's two lines that never got to be turned white. This 4x gets left out if we use the FOIL method here. So we want to be really careful that we don't always just use FOIL. We want to use our double distribution. So think of these as two terms that we're going to distribute to everything in the second expression. All right, good luck. If you have questions, let us know.